Copy, switchover.
We are about 1 minute from the point where the orbiter separates from the 747 spacecraft. As I said, if this flight goes well, there will be other...
Airspeed 205.
There will be others unpowered glide-down tests.
Altitude 27.
The orbiter will be tested at different ranges and
Airspeed
speeds.
230 knots.
It does not fly very well. It thinks somewhat like a rock, according to one pilot who has done the simulation. But it has enough lift. Go for SEP, have a great flight.
260. Launch ready.
And there they go. Tom, can you see it?
Spectacular view. No, they are way off in the distance here, and we have not been able to pick them up because they are above a cloud cover, but the clouds are between us and them. It was a fantastic sight on the picture that NASA beamed down from up there at 22,000 feet, and it was a very, very rapid and clean separation, and now the Enterprise is on its own, gliding very, very smoothly. Looks like level flight, and now dropping down below the chase planes and heading into its move now toward the desert here. And let's listen to now what the crew says on their first free flight.
Fred Haise conducting a practice landing at altitude. This gives him the feel, attitude, and the same airspeed as when he touched down.
20,255.
Crossing 20,000 feet, the spacecraft astronauts practice landing the spacecraft, flaring it out to an even level, the same way that they were when they bring it in Edwards Air Force Base. Now that's 5 minutes from landing.
Got looking at those there, folks. Okay, Houston, we're configured for the dismount side.
Roger, we copy.
Okay, folks, 205 and 20,100.
Houston says you're looking for
11 Alpha, pushing over. Okay, got you 195 and 20 low. They're now about 5 or 10 low on the backup and the prime boat. Okay?
Tom?
They are now northbound on the eastern end, or eastern side of Edwards Dry Lake, and they are now moving up toward their maneuver where they will bank in and come in toward the runway here that has been laid out on the deck here.
And they come in a lot faster and a lot hotter than a normal passenger jetliner, because that orbiter just doesn't glide as well as a jet plane does, and with no engines pushing it along, it drops pretty rapidly.
It's a little better than the OLX field.
Great. Haise saying the spacecraft feels better than the training jet on which they practice. Bright white paint of the orbiter silhouetted against a brilliant blue sky above Edwards Air Force Base, above the California desert. It's a bright sunlit day. The orbiter now banking slightly to the left, making the first of 2 turns which will line them up with the desert floor runway below.
Was at 48 minutes, 28 seconds past the hour.
2 minutes late. It took them a little bit longer than planned to get up to the separation altitude.
We're looking at 13,265. We're starting to turn to final.
Start to turn to final.
All right, that means, of course, they're on their final approach. Maybe a little high.
We recommend 30% speed brakes.
Doors coming open to 30.
That means that they're opening the V tail of the spacecraft to slow it down somewhat. Since the spacecraft doesn't have any engines, the only way they can slow it down is by opening a V-shaped tail at the back of the spacecraft to create more drag.
Now recommend 50% speed brakes.
10,002.
Okay, Vic, I got him in sight now. Kind of like dragging your feet behind a skateboard. Tom, you've got him in sight. Headed toward the runway.
And they are banking in very, very high. They're going to have a very steep angle of descent here as they come down, but the chase planes are going right alongside of it now. And they're just angling in. He's in a very good dive. It looks almost like a fighter pilot dive that you may see in the movies a lot of times. Well, almost as though he were coming in for a sprinting run. And I can see the tail that has been deployed there. And the Enterprise moving very, very smoothly. Very smoothly. Chase planes to the left and right. And they are coming right in toward us now. 295.
Crossing 5,000 feet.
Yeah, still about 7 loads. Back.
And everything's still going smoothly.
I can see them dip the right wing a little bit. They crossed the end of the lake bed now. That's a distance of 19 miles from point to point.
When the spacecraft lands, it'll be going at something like 200 miles an hour. A lot faster than a jetliner would land. 2,000 feet, they should be coming in any minute.
Got a beautiful view of it, Dick. They're coming in. The 3 chase planes, the 2 planes to the right, and on the left now, of course, they're coming in approaching now. They are just about approaching the point where they'll slow it out a little bit.
And this is the point where the landing gear will be coming down in just a minute. If it doesn't come down on the hydraulics the first time around, they've got a way to blow it down with explosives.
The gear are not down now. The gear are coming down. The gear are deployed. They're working, and they're all down, coming down. The Enterprise is almost on the ground now. Just settling in. Chase planes now beginning to pass. 15 feet, 10 feet, almost on the ground. 20, about 5 feet, 4 feet. About 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. They're going off about 2 feet. They're on. Okay, those wheels about 10 feet.
And they're on the ground. The roar of applause from the spectators on the lake bed. The shuttle Enterprise makes its first landing all by itself successfully.
Now the test is not over yet because as they are rolling out, they are doing some braking maneuvers to test it at various speeds as to how the brakes will work. And the Enterprise now still rolling down, going down the lake bed now, and making some speed tests of those brakes. This will determine just how much braking power they have, how hot the brakes get, a lot of things that have to be worked out. And of course, they had no way of knowing that specifically, other than predictions that the engineers would give them until such time as they were able to get the actual Enterprise into flight. And this, of course, was the first free fall flight of the spaceship Enterprise, and a very, very successful flight it has been. Of course, they will be analyzing data for many, many weeks, going over the entire 5 to 6 minutes of the actual free fall drop of the Enterprise. But Fred Haise and Gordon Fullerton, the 2 astronauts who were aboard, doing very, very well. They reported everything going normally as the flight progressed, and as it came in, the Enterprise is a huge, huge ship, as you can see it coming in. Vic?
Recapping, the spacecraft Enterprise carried aloft aboard its 747 jumbo jets at 22,000 feet. It's been up there before, but it's never come down on its own. And today, for the first time, blasted off the 747, astronauts Fred Haise and Gordon Fullerton aboard, piloting it down in an unpowered flying glide, coming down rapidly, landing hot and clean. The spacecraft performing exactly as expected and coming to a stop just about now on the dry lake bed at Edwards Air Force Base here in California. The whole flight only lasted
The 747 is just going past in front of us now, taking the same track that the Enterprise took coming in. Of course, the 747 is not going to land on the lake bed, but we can see the supports that held the Enterprise. They are still there atop the 747, and more or less in a salute as the 747 is flown over the Enterprise that is now down here and stopped on the lake bed. But
and Houston radios, congrats. And Houston radios, congratulations.
Up your rear here, about a half mile, 6 o'clock.
747 flying overhead with Fitzhugh Fulton at the controls, passing as Tom said.
747 pilot Fitz Fulton is flying the 747 over the orbiter in a tradition that goes back to the lifting body next 15 flights here at Dryden Flight Research Center.
That's the voice of Trudy Peterman, the NASA spokesman here at the Dryden Space Flight Center.
Well, one thing, Vic, that they have demonstrated here today is she will fly.
And what happens next?
Well, we're going to have another test. They have another flight that is set for the Space Shuttle. In fact, there are going to be several flights before they get into a powered flight in September of 1979. In March of 1979, we're going to go with the first powered flight. But meanwhile, we have many tests that are going to have to be run on these. There is another crew, of course, that will be flying. grading off as we go through the various flights of the Enterprise. But all of them will drop. They'll have a couple of more of these free fall flights, and we'll go to powered flights. And then, of course, the big excitement when they can finally blast into orbit. And in March of '79 is the first manned orbital flight of the Enterprise. And we will have many, many technical things that can be done in outer space that cannot be done here on the ground, of course. Those we've been reading about for weeks and months. They were even talking, Vic, about doing some surgery in outer space in some critical cases. I don't know specifically what kind of surgery, not being a doctor, but there are some things that they will be able to perform, they say, in space because of the weightlessness that cannot be done here on the ground.
The Space Shuttle is planned to be the workhorse of the U.S. manned space program in the 1980s and 1990s, and more than that, it's really going to be a kind of cargo aircraft, available to carry satellites and scientific experiments out into space almost on order. Prices ranging from $20 million for a big communication satellite down to $3,000 for a small scientific package that has attracted the attention of astronauts and scientific groups in colleges and universities. So it's the first business in space.
And Vic, one of the big advantages of the shuttle orbiter is that it has to be able to fly at least 100 times. So it is a reusable craft. They can even recover the engine. But everything went well here on the lake bed, Vic. Back to you.
For my colleague Tom Shell, this is Vic Ratner, ABC News at Edwards Air Force Base, California. This has been a live special report from ABC News.
This is the American Forces Network, Europe. Enroll in the University of Maryland Term 1 classes now. This is AFN Frankfurt, AM and FM. Central European Time is 5 o'clock. AFN News from the wires of the AP and UPI. Good afternoon. This is Paul Macko reporting that the Space Shuttle Enterprise has landed in California's Mojave Desert, ending its first free flight. The landing came about 5 minutes after the space plane separated from a jumbo jet that had carried it into the air from Edwards Air Force Base. Accompanied by a small flock of sleek chase planes, the jumbo transport and its 75-ton passenger lifted off the runway about 1 minute ahead of schedule. Two astronauts, 43-year-old Fred Haise and 40-year-old Gordon Fullerton, were at the controls of the shuttle. The test was a critical milestone in the development of the airliner-sized space bus designed to make hundreds of flights into near-Earth orbit in the next decade. The Israeli military denies the Palestinian charge that Israeli tanks, artillery, and rockets were used in an attack across the southern Lebanese border early today. The PLO had accused the Israelis of mounting the assault in an attempt to capture the guerrilla-held southern village of Yarin, located just north of the Israeli border. Earlier this week, Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin confirmed for the first time that Israeli artillery sometimes supported Lebanese Christians in battles with the PLO. President Carter is spending much of today going over the just-concluded Panama Canal Agreement, looking at the minute details in the past. UPI's Roger Gittins has details.
President Carter will spend most of his day reviewing the terms of the new Panama Canal Treaty. His schedule has been kept open, aside from the daily national security briefing. Spokesman Jody Powell says Mr. Carter will go over the pact line by line and word for word with administration experts, including the NSC and State and Defense Department officials. But already the Joint Chiefs of Staff have given their okay, and the elaborate analysis appears to be aimed more at public opinion than spotting any flaws. Spokesman Powell said the treaty within the next few days, a prelude to what promises to be a long effort to win Senate ratification. Roger Gittins at the White House.
Noxious fumes from a derailed tank car forced the evacuation of some 1,000 residents of the Detroit suburb of Novi. And authorities say they don't know when the residents will be permitted to return to their homes. No casualties have been reported. The evacuation was ordered after one of 4 grounded tank cars from a chassis system freight train flipped over and began to leak. It's not known what the substance was. Each of the 4 cars carried a different chemical. Authorities in Seaside, California are laboring without clues or suspects in their investigation of the slaughter of a grandmother, her daughter, and 2 of her grandchildren. The 4 were found yesterday stabbed to death in their apartment. Police Commander Bill Gullett says it's the most gross crime that Seaside can remember. Residents of New York City now are described as not thinking twice about going out in the town after dark, now that police say they have apprehended the so-called Son of Sam. UPI's Bob Honig has more.
David Berkowitz will spend at least the next month in the isolation of a mental ward in a Brooklyn hospital. The young postal worker was ordered there for tests to determine his mental competence during an arraignment on charges he committed the latest .44 caliber shootings. The judge ordered Berkowitz held without bail, and a report is expected within 30 days on whether he is mentally able to plead to the charges against him, including murder. Found with the suspect, a .44 caliber revolver, the one used to kill Stacy Moskowitz July 31st. Police have traced that weapon to a Houston gun shop where it was sold to a young man shortly before the first Son of Sam shooting. If tried, Berkowitz faces a maximum of life imprisonment since there is no death penalty for murder in New York. But the huge crowd that gathered outside his arraignment court yesterday thought otherwise. They chanted, "Kill him, kill him." Judd Rose in New York.
A federal court jury continues to deliberate in the fraud trial of Maryland Governor Marvin Mandel and 5 co-defendants. Meanwhile, Mandel has taken his stepchildren and the children of some of his co-defendants on a picnic. Mandel said before the picnic that he feels strongly that everything will turn out all right. That's the news from the wires of UPI and the AP. Paul Macco reporting for AFN.
Again, everybody, I'm Specialist Tony Butera, reporting sports in and around the AFN Frankfurt area. Well, in the Frankfurt Military Community Slow Pitch Softball Tournament yesterday, the Marines beat 302nd ASA, that score 6-3, and 228th Signal, the last qualifier, by the way, from the National League, downed 1945-12. They were the American League champs. That score, 228th over 1945-12, score was 8-7. Well, a big golf championship is starting up tomorrow. Dick Broadway has details.
The CSC Golf Tournament begins this weekend, Saturday, 13 August, at On Air Base. There'll be a meeting of all participants at 0800 in the golf clubhouse. There's no on-base bulletin, therefore anyone planning to stay overnight should notify the Hahn Recreation Office, military phone 7468 or 7201. 18 holes will be played each day, Saturday and Sunday. The other 36 holes will be played on the Ramstein course on 20 and 21 August. There will be 3 divisions: the Open, Seniors, age 45 and older, and the Women's Division. Each installation may enter up to 6 players in the Open Division, 3 in the Seniors, and 2 in the Women's Division. This will be a no-handicap, medal play type tournament. The 5 best players in the Open Division, 3 low scorers in the Seniors,